what is coming up next is leveraging AP Classroom with Jason, Susan, and Allison. So welcome. Please type in the chat what school or district office you are joining us from, and please let us know if you have any questions or comments for our panelists, and we will be able to get them answered for you. All right, without further ado, I will now turn it over to Susan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Susan Smuskowitz, and I'm a teacher at Atherton High School. This is my 18th year teaching, and I'm a National Board Certified teacher. So this is actually my second year teaching AP Language and Composition, and we teach it at the 10th grade level at Atherton. So I'm going to be talking today about how I use the CED when I plan for the year. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And go here.
Yep. I love your mouse.
Oh, thanks. It's an extension.
Yes. And you can hit hide right there in the middle. Yep.
Oh, there you
right
go.
There.
Hide.
And then so click on the down arrow. Yep. And go to top. And then large. So people can. Yep. You can click on top, and then you want to click on the down arrow again. Go to left. Yep. And then you can click on CC, and now it will work after you click on CC. It will turn yellow. Yep. You're good to go.
Yay. Okay. All right. So this is my presentation on how to use the AP CED course framework and course at a glance to plan instruction. And again, my name is Susan Smuskowitz, or as my students call me, Miss S. So College Board Access, if you have not used we have to register our students for the exam and whatnot. But I know that sometimes it can be kind of tricky to navigate. And so all you have to do to access any of the things that I'm looking at, we're sharing with you today, you just log into College Board website, you click on the College Board tab, you select the drop-down box and select AP Central, and then you'll select AP Courses and Exam to view the specific course. So what I'm going to share with you all today is I'm going to talk about the course framework. And so this is just the table of contents in the CED. And specifically, I'm going to concentrate on sharing with you all how I use the course at a glance to plan for the year. So just to give you all an overview, most of you should already know this, but AP is broken into big ideas and enduring understandings. So those are cross-cutting concepts, and enduring understandings are the long-term takeaways related to the big ideas. And the core skills, of course, those are the essential knowledge statements that are outlined in the CED, and they describe what students should be able to know and do at the end of the course. So I know that my son last year took AP HG, and that is a content-based course, whereas language and composition is a skill-based course. So if you will notice, the skills are what we call recursive. They spiral throughout the unit. So whatever, and the reason why those skills repeat is because we want our students to be able to master those skills and demonstrate them the best way they can, not only in the classroom and for lifelong learning, but also for that exam. So here is a crosswalk outlining the rhetorical, the enduring understandings and the skill categories. And this, to me, it's good because you see all the information on there. But to be honest, the first time I saw this, I thought it was kind of confusing. And I really like the course framework. It's just a little bit more linear to my taste when I'm planning. So this just outlines everything, the enduring understandings for each type of big idea, and then the skill categories for each of those. So here is what I'm going to go over, basically the meat and potatoes of how I plan throughout the year, and also how I design my syllabus. So course at a glance. So this is what this all looks like. And everything that I'm sharing with you today, you can get through AP Central. I just did a bunch of fancy screenshots. So if you notice, it's outlined by units. And I'm going to go over with you all here in a minute how I plan and use this. So, and it's all color coordinated, so it shows you which ones, again, repeat and are recursive. So there are 9 units in all. So what I try to do is I try to like put a couple of the shorter units together. So this is how I interpret the framework. So what I do, if you look at it, students, I broke mine down by practice, application, and recursive. So those standards where I had the maroon star, those demonstrate those are where we give students practice for those skills. So I allow my students to we're using digital notebooks right now. And even if we were in the classroom, it would be just a regular composition or a spiral bound notebook where I give them time to practice the skills. And then application is where they actually, the skills that they have learned and understood and practiced, they can apply in their own writing. So if you notice for Unit 1, right here, all they really need to be able to demonstrate is develop a paragraph that includes a claim and evidence supporting the claim. But this is Unit 2. And if you look at Unit 2, this is where that recursive part falls in, where they're repeating that demonstration of that skill. So right now, my sophomores, they've just finished writing their summer reading essay. And the past few weeks, we have been working on that skill quite intensely so they can apply that skill to their summer reading essay. So just real quick, I wanted to go with you how I do my lesson planning. I'm a big fan of choice boards. And so here's just a sample lesson of how I've organized this around the Unit 1 standards. So my students always have what's called a central assigned reading, and they do something with that, and that's more for them to turn in weekly. And then the choice boards, they always choose 2 activities that help demonstrate and reinforce that skill. So for exam, had them do a review of, some teachers use Soapstone, I use SpaceCat to understand the rhetorical situation. And even though that doesn't really fall under this particular standard, it does, because they have to understand the rhetorical situation before they can do anything else. So they have to understand like what writers are doing and what are they using to convey that message. So they read an essay by Siobhan Crawley talking about trigger warnings, and there was a handout on claim and evidence that they had to turn into Google Classroom. So that was the weekly assignment. And then their notebooks, what I had them do was go back to their summer reading book. They had to select a nonfiction text, create an essential question, and find 2 current event articles that help support that essential question. So in their notebooks, to help them reinforce and demonstrate that skill of claim, evidence, and reasoning, they went through their summer reading book and they found what was the claim, what are 2 pieces of evidence, and then explain how that supports. And this also helps support their writing because they use this is practice, but then they also can use it and finesse it and revise it to use in their summer reading essay. And then I also am a big fan of using visuals. So this is another way that students can demonstrate their understanding as relates to claim and evidence. So real quick, I want to talk about the resources in I almost said Google Classroom, and AP Classroom. So when you click into AP Central, you're going to see this little green box, and that's where you can access your PPCs, the personal progress checks, the quizzes, and the daily videos. So the daily videos are new this year. I used AP Central. I used that last year for the progress checks. And for me, and I believe another teacher, I think Allison, you're going to be talking about that in the presentation. I found that very valuable as a teacher. I would emphasize the progress checks, what they told us in APSI training, that this is formative assessment. This is just feedback to give to you as the teacher in terms of how you can structure your instruction to support student learning. So what I'm planning on doing, my students are actually going to do this week. So here's some ways that you can assign. There's the new daily videos with little quizzes and also the personal progress checks. So you can assign the videos through AP Central while teaching the unit. So this would be a perfect asynchronous day activity. That's actually what my students are going to be doing Wednesday. I assigned 2 videos. They're like 5 minutes long or rhetorical situation for review. Or the students can watch videos and take notes. They can do something like one thing they already knew, one thing they learned, one question that they might have, and you can do that as a Google Form exit slip or a notebook entry. Assign skill level quiz that accompanies the video. So there are these short little quizzes with like passages. It's like one question that they can do for reinforcement. And then follow up with the personal progress check, which that's what my students are going to do, and they can reflect on their progress. So I'm a big fan of the what is your grow, what is your glow, and that's what I intend for my students to do, to share once they finish the PPC. Okay, and do I just stop sharing?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for that portion. Yep, there we go.
All right, so I guess I'm up next. And I just placed the link to mine on the channel as well. I think mine right now is linked in the title, and so we might want to change that.
Okay, I will change it right now for you.
Whenever.
Okay.
I placed the link in the channel though, so it should be in the chat. All right. So my name is Allison Cecil, and I'm a teacher at DuPont Manual High School.
Allison, really quick, I hate to
no, you're
interrupt. Good. Do you mind if you go back and clicking on the CC? That will make your, yep, there we go. And then click allow. You're good to go.
Oh, sorry, I thought I did that.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
So hi again, I'm Allison Cecil. I'm a teacher at Manual, and I have been teaching AP classes for my entire career, which is 19 years, but I've spent most of the time teaching AP Human Geography, and so a lot of the context will be based in AP Human Geography, but it can be generalized to really any advanced placement class. I also serve as moderator of the AP Human Geography teachers community, and probably the most common question I get right now is about AP Classroom. So I'm going to try to address some of those common questions that I've had here recently. And of course, if you're watching and you have any additional questions, just ask in the chat. So one of the great things about using AP Classroom is that you can really focus in on student strengths and weaknesses. And, there was a mention about the personal progress checks. You can use those as a means of just formative assessment. They are intended, as was stated earlier, just for informing the teacher, not necessarily to be used as an actual grade. But you can also administer things like unit exams through AP Classroom. You can create your own questions, or you can also use other questions that are meant to be summative questions that are in the AP Classroom test bank. Now, depending on your course, that will decide how exactly you would structure any sort of unit test and what sort of topic and skills pairings that you would have, as well as how many things are already in the test bank. Right now, you can only add in your own multiple choice questions. You can assign FRQs, but they have to be the ones that are already there. However, starting this fall, you will be able to write your own free response questions as well. So that is something that they are constantly improving on. So getting back to this particular student, so this is looking at an assessment they took related to the first human geography unit. I, as a teacher, if I click in on that individual student in AP Classroom, I can see not just their overall score, but more importantly, I can identify that, hey, this student did really well overall, but they have weaknesses in spatial concepts and regional analysis. And so that can really help me identify any additional supports that the student may need, and also help the student focus less on that overall percentage score that they received, and instead okay, you did pretty well, but there's still work to be done. Alternatively, if the student had not performed so well, there still would be some of the topics that the student would have performed better on than others. So we can focus on those successes and build from those. What did you maybe do differently, both as a teacher and as a student, for those particular topics and skills? And so that's one of the reasons why I like it. You can also dig deeper. So with, for instance, the student and spatial concepts, which one's question on spatial concepts did they answer correctly? So it's going to show you which questions are linked all to that particular topic. In this case, there were just 3 questions on each topic, but you could have however many you thought was appropriate for your students there. So maybe it's stimulus material that threw off the students. So is it a map reading skill that is also impacting how they perform on that topic or not? Again, it's driving as deep as possible to support that student increasing their performance. So this is how it looks once you click on the question. You'll be able to see the question, the topic, the skill, and the other questions. And you, if it wasn't a screenshot, instead if you were actually in AP Classroom, you could click on each of those. It also has for each question, and now I'm showing you one that's publicly available. That's another important point, is that some of the questions in AP Classroom will have a little blue shield next to them. Those questions are not to be assigned in a virtual environment. They also do require the lockdown browser, which makes it at best inconvenient and a technological disaster in most cases to assign them. But also you are violating the agreement that you put your name on when you signed up for AP Classroom if you assign those questions with the shield when you are in a non-face-to-face setting. So just be aware of that. So the reason I put this question up here is not that you care about this specific question, but instead notice that it does give feedback to the student on the answer. And so this one's incorrect, and here's why it's incorrect. And you can do that for each of the other answer choices. So this is something that you want to consider when you're adding questions of your own to the test bank, is you want to make sure that you also provide that feedback to students to make the data that they're getting as informative as possible. And then I can sort not just by topic, but also by skill. So I just showed you what this looked like. Now in human geography and in most of at least the social science courses, every topic has a main skill pairing, but in other subjects, I know it works a little differently. So that could be especially useful if you have, as was stated earlier, more of a skill-based course. The other thing is that once students take something in AP Classroom, if they take a unit test, I have them complete a reflection sheet, which of course this year is a Google form. So I have them say, I did well on, so I tell them how to go back into AP Classroom, how to click their results, how to sort by topic, and then they can go through and mark, okay, what did I do well on? So we start with that. And so notice this note here that's really important. Even if you aren't happy with your overall score, you had some things you did better on than others. And they can pick multiple topics here. Then looking forward to, again, improvement. So what did you not do so well on? So looking back at your test, even if you're happy with your overall score, you had some things you didn't do as well on unless you scored a 100. So having them pick out which topics they need to maybe improve upon. And so then I have them reflect. I teach freshmen in the Advanced Placement Human Geography course. So I have them look at, okay, what did I do to maybe create those results? So what were the different strengths that I had in preparing for the Unit 1 exam? So did I take notes that were actually useful notes? Did I take advantage of the asynchronous class videos? Did I attend our small group time and did I participate during that? Did I attend office hours? And we've created these APHG live sessions. When I say we, I have a PLC partner, Merritt Robinson, and we do everything completely co-planned together. And so our students can attend each of our office hours depending on what they need at that moment. Did I review consistently? Did I do active review? Did I do self-quizzing? We have them also do mind maps, or concept maps, in other words, for each unit. You know, did I do those just to check the box and say I did it, or did I actually have a useful mind map or concept map? Did I teach the topic to others or even myself in the mirror? So that's what we focus on, is students understanding that studying doesn't consist of staring. Instead, it consists of being active with the material. And then looking forward, what are their goals for Unit 2? So this is where the student determines what their goals are. Notice it's a very open-ended question. Some students will be very specific here, and other students will focus more on like score points and things like that. At this point, it's early in the year, and so I just want them to have a goal that they're working towards. We can tweak the appropriateness of that goal more as we go on. And so then, okay, considering that goal, what are the different things that I need to work on as I begin Unit 2? And so you'll see this is really a duplicate list. Your list would probably vary a little bit depending on your specific classroom and your subject material. And so really what it is about is it is truly about having a growth mindset, trying to get students to improve consistently, and also those that do struggle at first, especially in an advanced placement class, having them build upon small successes to get there. Here are some other classroom tools. And so I'm going to click on this. When you look at the actual presentation, all of these go to the same overview of tools. And this is directly from AP Classroom. And so once you end up clicking on that, you are going to see some of the things that were referenced earlier, such as course and exam descriptions, unit guides, the daily videos, the topic questions, different things like that. And as I have a note on here, more improvements are coming to AP Classroom based upon teacher feedback. So it is also important that you look at the resources and think about what are strengths, what are weaknesses, what are things that you need for AP Classroom to do in order to better serve your students. And then you would want to pass those along with the community moderator is probably the best person for your respective subject area. So I mentioned that FRQs, being able to write your own free response questions, is one thing that is coming. Other things that have been talked about that do not have a release date yet or anything are things such as students being able to self-score FRQs based upon rubrics. That's something that teachers have asked for. And so do ask if there are things that would help you, because the resource is still sometimes a little clunky to navigate, but it is getting better and better, and your feedback is definitely needed. So that was my focus area for this presentation, although I, of course, would be happy to answer any other questions as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. Right now, we do not have any questions, but I'm pretty sure some are coming in. So we can get started with Jason, and as some are coming in, we will pass them on.
All right, so I'm on now?
You are.
Okay, so for my focus area, I thought, sorry, it's been a long day. I think one of the things that I've been teaching AP classes, I teach AP literature, and I've taught it for a long time. I'm also just newly this year teaching AP research. And I think that for a lot of people who are, those who've maybe been around a long time and have not relied on the online resources as much as they were available, I think might be in kind of the same boat as a lot of people right now, as those of us who are teaching new classes right now and are like, oh, which is always the thing when we grab a new AP class, which is, oh my God, there's so much I have to cover, and how do I create all of this at once? So what I thought I would do, I assume that if people need help with AP Classroom, they might not be entirely aware of the AP communities. So I'm going to just share my screen. Okay. I think it's being stubborn on me.
Oh, no. You see the 3 dots? Yep.
Yep, no, I see it. I'm clicking share.
Oh, no.
Let me try again.
Okay.
No, it's not letting me share my screen for some reason.
Is it giving you an error or?
It's got the share grayed out.
Oh, okay. So click on, you should see yourself or something, and then it should turn blue. It's like an invisible.
Click on what?
It's under your entire screen.
Right.
You can click on that box, and then the share button should turn blue.
Okay, I got it. I'm
Got
sorry.
it. No.
All right.
There we go. Yep.
Sharing my screen. So this is an example. This is the AP. This is the AP research community, which I've been using tons and tons lately because that's such a big, complicated class. So for anyone who isn't aware, okay, this is a different address, right? This is apcommunity.collegeboard.org, and you do have to ask to join to be in any of the communities, and you have to be listed as a teacher or whatever. But once you're in, there is an enormous amount of useful information. It's one of those things where if you have a question, someone else has already had that question, and it's probably already answered here. So these are just the current posts. Something that I have found really useful to do is to go into resources. There were some things specifically with AP research regarding the prep journal, which for those of you who are watching and teach that class, that's a big chunk of the course, and it's a thing that the students kind of struggle with wrapping their brains around at the beginning, like, because it doesn't have a discrete product that they do. It's a progressive thing that they're constantly working on, and you as the instructor are just going in to check. So you can, I can go over here to the search, and you can see where I've searched prep recently because it popped up there. But you can search for it, and then all of these things here are resources for the prep journal. And any class that you have, if there's something in particular that you want to look at, you can go there and search for it. The discussions also are useful, sometimes more, sometimes less, it varies. But I find a lot of the resources on here to be really excellent, and you can find particular teachers who tend to post really excellent things. The other thing that I did want to point out, on the interface, I'm going to stop sharing now, because I think, in terms of slides, everyone has shown you everything that's there. But it is important to note, and I think it is worthwhile to note for those of us, as a teacher of AP literature, one of the things that really concerned me, and I'm glad that I kind of worked with this stuff last year, is that a lot of my students have a hard time with the timing of the essays. And it is worth noting that if you have not used the AP Classroom assessments before, you can set timers on them, right? So you can set, and they have the various levels of questions. You have to kind of poke around on them to see which one you want to assign to your kids. But, normally what I will do is I'll give them 55 or 60 minutes on their first essay, and then it drops. Every couple essays, it'll drop, 5 or 10 minutes, depending on what I think they can handle. So they do get used to having that limited time span. And I was worried about that, or I would have been worried about that this year if I didn't already know that the free response boxes were available up there. So, be aware of that. Be aware also, and this is, I think, one view that wasn't shown in the slides, that you can look at a full class view. And a full class view can often give you a real sense of, is this something that one student missed? Or is this something that, oh, wow, okay, I thought I got that concept and I did not get that concept. Everyone is scoring low on it. I need to go back and reteach that. And that's, for me, been an important skill. There have been a couple of times where I've taught something, had them do the assessment, and everybody does fine except for one component. And then everybody, has punted that pretty badly. So that's when you know that there's something that you've missed or that you maybe haven't gotten across as clearly as you think you could, that's available to you. I think a random piece of advice, perhaps, for people who haven't used these sites this much, the College Board's website can be awfully user unfriendly, and often the easiest way to find stuff I have found is just to Google it, like as in Google AP community for AP literature or whatever. And that'll get you there. As long as you know your password and login, you can type those in and log in. But my goodness, I still sometimes get lost. They changed the interface a little bit. And it's 15 minutes of me just trying to figure out where my class is all of a sudden because of what they do with things. But that's really all I had. I just wanted to make sure that people took a look at AP Community and we're aware that it's there. I think we're all lacking in sort of hard, tangible resources right now for some of the online stuff. And a lot of that stuff is already Google Docs. So it means you open it, it's automatically shared on your drive, you make a copy, you post it to your Google Classroom, and it's there for you for any stuff that you might not have digital copies of, or that you might need new digital copies of things. But that was really all that I had for this one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Allison, Susan, I'm not sure if you are still there, but does anyone want to have any final thoughts or words? And I believe we're all high school teachers. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Jason, where are you? What school?
Oh, sorry. I teach at Brown.
Brown. Okay, my first grader goes there. Okay. And then Susan, I forgot. I'm sorry. Mel?
I'm at Atherton.
Atherton. Awesome. And then Allison's at Manual. Okay. Awesome. Any closing thoughts? Any advice you would like to give to teachers that may be teaching AP or maybe looking to teach AP?
So one thing I would say, and I think that was really good that Jason went over the AP community, because I think right now we all need as much support and community as we can get, is that in addition to the College Board official advanced placement community sites, if you are a social media user and are on Facebook, most groups also have an unofficial. It is definitely not affiliated with College Board, but most subjects also have one or more unofficial Facebook groups. Now, of course, those groups are Facebook groups. So just as the AP community groups, even the official ones, will vary a little bit in terms of how much activity there is and usefulness, the same thing will be true of the Facebook groups, and that's usually driven by the moderators. But if you're needing more immediate support that might deal more with finding resources, like if you notice that something's not already in the library of your community group, you might want to try the Facebook group and explore that option and see what's there, because then there's more frequent postings, which is both, a pro and a con, right? There's more activity on most of the Facebook groups, which is a good thing and a bad thing. One disadvantage of the Facebook groups is they are not screened so much. So again, it depends on your moderators, but most of the time, things that are posted as lesson ideas are not going to be screened. Whereas things on the AP community, the official community, the moderator is charged with screening those. And so just realize that just because it's posted there doesn't mean that it's great. It doesn't even mean that it ties in with the course and exam description either. Yeah. So that's one thing I would add. The other thing I wanted to add is with the timers on AP Classroom. And this is something that I have been experimenting more with, because to be quite honest, even though I've been really heavily involved in even some of the development of AP Classroom, I had not used it in terms of students taking assessments until, well, now I kind of have to, I feel. And so with the timers, you can set the timer, but students can go beyond the timer. And so if you set the timer, what'll happen, and I would share screens, but actually I will for this screen. I just can't to show you of course, the actual student results. But with the timer, so it should be pulled up there now.
It is, yep.
All right, excellent. So this is where, if you've already created an assessment, you go in under the settings for the assessment. So you can choose, like, I'm going to assign it to all my classes. I'm going to make it active. So like if I wanted something to go active like next week at 2:45 p.m., I could go ahead and have it here, and then students won't actually be able to access it until then. Obviously right now, we're all going to be online format, and then I can set my due date. After the due date, so if I set a specific due date, so in this case, October 2nd, 2:45 p.m., then the students will not have access to it if they try to access it after that time. So you might want to use your own classroom decisions to decide whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. I've been setting hard due dates, and then for students that need extended time. They have, of course, in this flexible NTI environment, other things come up, then I'll reopen it. But you can also hear where it says students see results. If you do after scoring and a student takes, a quiz or whatever that you've set up there, then they will immediately be able to go back into their results. If you are counting it as a score, then maybe you don't want that to happen. So you can set no, and then once the students have all submitted, then you can go back in and change it to after scoring, and they'll all be able to see it.
Nice.
And then this is the timer, and so you can set it for whatever is appropriate, but they will extend past. And how I have found this useful is that obviously, students have open access to everything as they're taking these different assessments that we set up. But I've seen two issues with my own students. I've seen students that haven't been performing so well on some quizzes, and they've only been spending like 3-4 minutes on a quiz that should take much longer than that. Well, that's one issue and helps me know like what sort of feedback I need to give to that student. And then I've had other students where on like a simple 10-question quiz, they've been spending 180 minutes. And so I also need to figure out what's going on there and talk to those students. And is it just that you're coming back to it, or are you trying to look up everything in notes, or what's going on there? And so that can also, like, having that timer there can not only help with the timing of the exam, like Jason mentioned, but it can also really help you as a teacher kind of be aware of what's going on with some of your students at kind of the different extremes of timing and problem solve. So that's the only thing I wanted to add.
Thank you for that. And I know that was a great resource, and you just seeing that visual of the timer and then those points that whether the difference between after grading or no, but you can change it back to after posting as well. So
yeah, so what I do is I just go in after all students have submitted, except for like the personal progress checks, because that's just, as Susan had mentioned earlier, that's really just meant for feedback, in general. Like it's You're not really supposed to count that as a score. So those I just say fine after scoring. And but there are some other assessments where I do want to get a better feel for, okay, the student didn't consult necessarily someone else's results, at least. How are they doing? And of course, there's no fail-safe measure, but it helps a little bit to preserve the release of those results if you want to have a little bit more security until afterwards, depending, of course, on what you're doing. And then if you really, really care about the timer, if you set the due date and time, I'm sorry, there's a squirrel in my backyard right now, so the dog is very excited.
Yeah.
he is at his attention. But if the timing ends up at some point being really key, where you do want students for some reason to stick to that timing and not be able to extend past, a little trick, I haven't done this yet, but a little trick you can do there is you can have the start time, like say if they're going to take something during your live class or something like that, you can have the start time be like, let's say it's a 15-minute thing, start 15 minutes and then close out, set the timing to 15 minutes and have it close out 15 minutes later. Does that make sense? So like you would set that in time so that the entire assessment time's out. Now the problem is that students you have with 504s and IEPs, right now, again, this is something else that's been requested. Right now, you can't make exceptions for individual students. So you would need to be aware that if you have students with 504s and IEPs, I have many students that get extended time. I can't use that method and provide that extended time. And so that would be problematic in my situation. But if you have a class where that's not your situation, and timing really matters to you, then that's a way to kind of work around that.
And Allison, I wanted to point out, correct me if I'm wrong about this, when I used AP Classroom last year with the personal progress checks, when students, like for example, like the first time we did it in class, like the students, like we used the Chromebooks and everything so they could get used to it, because after that they did it for homework. And if a student, like I had a kid that was like, oh no, I submitted it, but I wasn't done yet. Like when you reopen it, you can't just reopen it for one kid. You have to reopen it like for the entire class, right?
That is correct.
Which is not a bad thing if you still want to use that as like, okay, let's try it again, because, because they'll be willing to do that. But I also want to point out too, with the videos, like last spring, AP released wonderful videos for review for the exam. And, again, I've been teaching for a long time, and this is only my second year teaching AP, but as somebody new teaching to AP, with the videos, one, if you're new to teaching AP, those videos are a great resource. And then two, like if you have a student come back and say, well, I watched the daily video and they said it this way. And right now, my son, who also is a 10th grader and attends Atherton, he's taking AP, but he's taking it with another teacher. So he wants to argue about like, well, this is what she said, but you say this. And I said, it's like this. I go, if we were on Gordon Ramsay's, like, the kitchen show, and, I go, I have to, we have to cook a chicken dish, and this teacher's going to cook cordon bleu, but I'm going to make like fried chicken. It doesn't matter because it's still chicken. So when you watch those videos, like, don't think like, and if your student comes back, well, this is how they like, I like that analogy. Like we're all using the same kitchen. I might use, or even like, I'm using one tool, the other teacher's using another one. We just say it in a different way.
I think that's a very good point. And I will say that one thing to be aware of is that your students, whether you assign AP daily videos or not, they are available for the students. So in my opinion, you need to watch them yourself and see what's out there, because even if you don't quote assign them, they still are where a student, if they're motivated enough to like go through and view the videos, they can view them themselves. And then if you assign them, you'll notice that some of these on my screen have a little arrow next to them and some do not. The arrows are ones I have assigned. The only difference that makes is it comes up in the student to-do list. That's it. But the other thing is, I can click on these videos and I can see that who watched it. Now, one caveat, of course, watching it doesn't mean engagement in it, because I can hit play and walk away. And also, like, my percentage watched is actually a lot higher than this, because if they end even a second early, it does not count as watched. All right, so this is not a perfect thing, but again, if I have a student that's struggling in other capacities, this is another set of information where I can be like, I've been assigning these videos and you're telling me you're watching them, but from what I'm seeing, you're not watching them here. Plus, the results that I'm seeing don't support that. So kind of what's going on there. And so those are, and even if you don't assign it, you can go in and see. So it's kind of interesting. Like, I can go into this video too. Well, I didn't assign it, so notice only 5% watched it. Right? So much lower number actually watched it. And then obviously I won't click on the specific names, but I can click on here and I can see who watched it, who didn't, which again gives me more information, which I know that we're kind of overburdened with information about a lot of things right now, but I feel like it's really hard to get good data on really where our students are performing. And so, in my opinion, the more that we can get this sort of data that's not just like the assessment that I assign them or that sort of thing, the better off we'll be. And so, so that's with the videos and the assigning. But do realize, even if you never assign them, students do have access. So like Susan said, a teacher might explain things in a little bit different way, and in the end, it probably doesn't matter. But if a student comes up and is talking to you about these AP daily videos and you're not unfamiliar with them, you probably should be.
And I think one of the good things is that even though you may not have assigned those videos, that students can look at those videos as a resource. And as you see, 5% watch those videos, which is, you know, they're eager for information. They're eager to really learn about that particular topic. All right. Well, I thank you all for your time. This video will be uploaded later during this week, so we will be able to share this video, and this whole recording will be actually available now if as soon as we end this call to share.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you all. You all are amazing. Thank you.